What's going on, guys? Jack's the Bearded Hiker here. So we just finished up our smoked turkey with maple bourbon glaze. If you happen to miss that video, then you can go check out that video right here. So now we're gonna move on to my soon to be famous and everybody's favorite side for Thanksgiving, the stuffing. This is gonna be a cornbread stuffing, and what's gonna make it so unique and delicious is breakfast sausage and corn nuts. That's right, corn nuts. All right, so let's get busy. So the first thing we want to do here, guys, is make us up some cornbread. I have about 3 pounds of cornbread here, and I've cubed it up into about 3/4 inch cubes here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to place all of this on a baking sheet. You're going to preheat your oven to 325 degrees. Put this on the baking sheet, and we're going to scatter it around and toss it every now and then for about, I don't know, maybe 40 minutes or so. We just want to dry this cornbread out some. Okay, as you can see, we've got everything transferred to our baking sheets. Now we're going to go ahead and put them in our 325 degree oven and let them hang out in there until this is dried out and gets nice and golden brown on top. So while your cornbread is toasting up in the oven, it's time to go ahead and brown up your sausage. I happen to be using the Jimmy Dean maple brand sausage. You're going to need 1 tube of that. Let's go ahead and brown that up. Get in there, you little badger. Now that my sausage is browned up, I'm going to remove it to a plate and throw in 2 sticks of butter. 2 sticks of butter going in. Let's let that melt. So we're nice and melted up. We're going in with, hold on, let me get this in here. I'll tell you exactly how much we got going in here. 4 stalks of celery and 2 medium-sized onions. So we also want to add about a teaspoon of salt to this onions and celery here. Go ahead and stir that in. Now we're not gonna brown these. We're just gonna saute them up just for a little bit till they're, you know, more or less translucent. I want to say too, guys, you can make this up to 3 days in advance, and all you'll do is you'll go through this process and then stick it in your fridge. I'm going to leave the instructions on the blog if you want to do that. And as always, you can get a printable version of this too at thebeardedhiker.com. Link will be in the description. We're softened up, so we're going to add in 2 chilies. I'm using jalapeno. We're also going to add 3 cloves of garlic. This is roasted garlic, but you could use just regular garlic. And we're just going to saute this up for about, I don't know, 2 or 3 minutes or until it gets fragrant. Starting to smell pretty delicious in here. Now it's time to add in our corn nuts. And I just picked these up at the store, and you can see they're whole, but you're going to want to put them in a blender or a food processor. And this is 3/4 of a cup of finely minced up corn nuts. Throw those in there and give it a stir. Just to reiterate, it's 3/4 of a cup before it's ground. Now we're just going to keep sauteing this or cooking this until our vegetables start to brown on the edges. Starting to get browned up a little bit on the edges there. We're going to add 3/4 cup of white wine. Give it a stir and just keep cooking it until that wine that we poured in there is almost evaporated. So that alcohol is almost burned off now, so we're adding some thyme. That's some fresh thyme, and you're going to be adding about 2 tablespoons of thyme. And to that, you're going to add 1 tablespoon of sage. If you're using fresh sage, that will end up being about 7 sage leaves. Now we're just going to fold this in or stir that in and remove it off the heat. Now it's time to start assembling our stuffing. Right here I have 3½ cups of chicken broth. You could use turkey stock if you wanted to. Got 3 eggs over here. What we're going to do is just beat these eggs up. All right, now we'll add these to our chicken broth. Give that a little whiskey, and then set that off to the side. All right, so we've switched our bowls out here. Put in your sausage. In goes our cornbread. Oh yeah, look. Oh my goodness. That's going to be fantastic. Now we're going to go in with our mixture here over the top. Well, I was going to try to be clean about this, but without getting in here with my hands. But we're going to just gently toss all this about and get it mixed up really well. So we mix that in. We're going to go in with a teaspoon of salt and a teaspoon of pepper. All right, now we're going to go in with our chicken broth and eggs mixture and just pour that over the top. And we're going to mix, and then we're just going to continue mixing intermittently until all of that liquid has been soaked up by that cornbread. All right, we've greased our baking dish there. Now, I'm going to start spooning the stuffing in there. And I'm going to talk to you while I'm doing this because I got a couple of things to tell you. So, first off, depending on how dry your cornbread is, you could need to add a little bit more chicken stock in there if you feel like your stuffing is not wet enough. That's up to you. And also what I do is I like to taste my stuffing mix for salt to make sure I don't need to add any more of that stuff in there. Now, I know what people are going to be freaking out going, well, you can't taste that because it's got raw eggs in there. And I would say this, that's me. If you don't want to do it, then just follow this recipe. And if it's too not salty enough, then that's on y'all. So our last step here, we're looking good. So preheat your oven, make sure it's at 350 degrees. Last step here, this is 1 can of corn juice. I just opened a can of corn and I drained the juice into this bowl. And we're just going to go over the top, just like this. All right, that looks good. Okay, into the oven she goes. So before we put her in the oven, we do need to cover this with foil. I'm not going to do that because I don't want you hearing all that noisy racket. Make sure you got your oven to 350 degrees. We're covering this with foil. We're going to stick it in there and we're going to let it stay in there for anywhere between 45 and 50 minutes. After that, we're going to take the foil off, increase the oven temp to 425 degrees Fahrenheit, and then cook it for another 15 minutes or so. All right, we've let this cool a little bit. Let's go in. I'm just going to go in right here and give this a try so I can do this without making a mess. All right, let's give it a go. Oh, man. Hold on. All right, so I want to say this. If you make this for your friends or your family members and they come to your house or you go to theirs, I'm just going to be forewarned. You're going to be like the designated cornbread stuffing maker. All right, guys. Cornbread stuffing with sausage and corn nuts. Do it. Okay, so I want to say this. If you make this for Thanksgiving for people that you're... Not people that you're going over to your house.